this is more than golf. Swing forward is more than golf. It's we're trying to look at things of because golf is transformation. It is. It's been transformation for me. I've
You rise before the sun comes up. No spotlight, no big parade. Just heart and hands and quiet strength and the difference you made. You don't wait for praise or cheers. You give.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, good night. This is Mike G with the Vast Podcast with Embrace the Power as well. I got a great guest today, very interesting individual, very versatile, we can call it. He plays golf, he does music, and so forth. We have the founder and the CEO of Swing Forward Support, the critical support of pros, mid-levels, and so forth. How are you, Mr. Earnest?
I'm doing fine, Michael. How are you?
Oh, very good. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate that. We actually got it together.
Mr. Mike G. Mr. G,
yes, sir.
Get in there with you, man. Glad to be here with you.
Thank you, man. Hey, like we like to have it on the Vast Podcast. A lot of information, but mellow vibe, and we just here mellowing and just talking about the great stuff that you do. Your foundation. Where did it start? Like, where did you start with the golf?
So, I am a product of. I'm the last of the baby boomers. So, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and growing up in the 60s and 70s, golf itself was not really. I don't know, in the 60s, it wasn't really accessible for blacks to play. And then as I got a little bit older, it wasn't that I didn't have access to golf. It's just, it wasn't a thing that anybody that I knew that looked like me, they didn't play it. And so I didn't follow golf. I didn't know anything about golf. I just know that it wasn't a lot of black people playing golf. Yeah. And so that I knew of. So, of course, I came up through the ranks of playing all the different sports, basketball, football, track, so on and so forth. Played some ball in college and just never really thought about golf. And so so as I've gotten older, I was an accountant, I was a CPA way back in the day, and one of my clients, it was a black man who was an avid golfer. That was the first time I had seen that. And like, I'm in my 30s at this point, like early 30s. And I'm like, man, golf. And he always talked about golf. I said, man, golf is, I actually call it a sissy game. I said, man, why you play golf? I said, take away the ball, it's just walking. I mean, what do you do? Just, man, come on, nobody play that. I don't want to talk about golf. And so he would always talk to me about, I said, man, stop talking about golf. I don't want to be a golfer, but he was an avid golfer. And so we were in DC, we were taking a business trip there. And so while we were there, he said, Ernest, he kept talking about golf. He said, man, you don't want to play golf? You don't think you can play golf? I said, no, I don't want to play golf. I don't want to talk about golf. He says, so you think you can hit a golf ball? I said, man, I play baseball. I can hit a ball with movement on it coming at me at 70, 80 miles an hour. You don't think I can hit a ball that's sitting on the ground? I said, you know what kind of hand-eye coordination I have? And so he said, well, let's put it to the test. So we went to the driving range. He finally convinced me. I go to the driving range. Man, it was like 30 minutes. That ball was still on the ground. I couldn't hit that thing. Save my life. I was like, oh my God. So it became kind of more of a situation where I wasn't going to let golf beat me. So I said, no. So I got competitive and then I got hooked on it. And then since then, I've been an avid golfer. And along the way, through all these years, I remember in 97, the first year that Tiger won the Masters, I was actually there, and I just got into golf. But one of my clients, through my accounting, him and his wife had passes because I lived in Atlanta at the time. They had passes to go, and I didn't really know much about golf. But they said, "Hey, Ernest, I got these 2 passes if you want to go." Because they were seasoned, they held passes. So they asked me to go. I said, sure, I'll go, see what it's about. And that was my first golf tournament I'd ever been to. And it happened to be the Masters. And I remember I took one of my buddies with me, and he really didn't know much about golf either. And so we just go down to see, okay, we drove down to Augusta. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but you can't see the golf course off the main street. You can't even see it. You wouldn't know it was there. But when you turn on Magnolia and you go down you go down that street, you go to those gates, it's like a whole different world. I mean, it is pristine, it's beautiful. It's just a whole different place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no clean out there, man. You drop food on the floor and pick it up and eat it. And it's clean, but it was just a real cool event. That was the year that Tiger won his first Masters. And so then I'm like, man, that guy playing golf. Wow, he's actually winning. He's really great. And so, but over the years and playing, because I'd gotten really, really into golf. Mm-hmm. And through those years, I just like, man, the only person we had was Tiger. There was nobody else that was like, elevated to the ranks of those top tier professional golfers. I just always wondered why. I was like, man, we just don't have that many good black golfers. And so, so I just played. I've always been a member of various clubs or whatever. But a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, because I moved to Tampa about 9 years ago. Okay. And so I joined, I was a member at Tampa Palms, and I was playing golf with this young African-American guy I met, young dude. And his name was Jordan Bohannon. So I met Jordan, and Jordan said, he's a professional golfer. I said, are you a professional golfer? I said, oh, okay. So we played, and he's really good. I said, man, we just had this conversation. I said, man, why is it that there are more, you got skills, you got a lot of talent. Why are there more blacks that are in that particular space, in the upper bounds of the PGA? And so what it was is that he said, it's just, it's not a lack of talent, just lack of resources. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of one of those situations where I was like, wow, that's what it is. That because golf is expensive, very expensive. Yeah. And so, trying to navigate that part of it is hard. So initially, I said, well, I'm going to try to help this young man out. I'm not rich, but I got a little bit that I can, little bit of disposable income I can help him with. Mm-hmm. And as it turns out, I started trying to help him with some of his fees, traveling fees, and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, I lost my mother. And during that period of time, I lost my mother. And unfortunately, she didn't have any insurance. And so I had to pay for her funeral out of my pocket, and so that kind of put a damper on me trying to do this out of my pocket. So I was just saying, I still want to help this guy, and not just help him, but help other people like him. So I decided at this point, well, maybe I just try to start this foundation. I know nothing about being a 501c3. Didn't know anything about it. I never worked with a nonprofit. I didn't really know what it was all about. But I said, but I'm going to try and see if I can put together this foundation that we can raise money, through donations and whatnot, as charitable contributions. And maybe I'm able to help other golfers in his situation try to, climb that ladder or break down some of those financial barriers. And so that's how I started Swing Forward. And so it was about almost 3 years ago now. And since then, it's just been a matter of, just trying to build the energy and get more, it's harder than I thought. I'm not gonna lie.
I can imagine.
Because again, that whole fundraising thing, I've been a person that's been very, very, very independent. I've been out on my own since I was 17 years old, never lived back home again. I've been out on my own. So I'm not used to asking anybody for money. And that's what fundraising is. I mean, it's a charity. You're asking people to invest or, donate to your vision. And so this was my vision. It's not their vision. So, what can I do to make them see my vision so that they would want to, $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever the case is. Just, and I figured, okay, well, if you got a lot of people doing that, you grow. Well, I kept checking, ain't nobody donating anything. And it's probably because I didn't really know. I'm still trying to learn the business. I'm still trying to learn the landscape. I had some people who stepped forward who were trying to help me along the way. Some people that was mentoring me. There was, Dr. Michael Cooper, who was just recently inducted into the Black Golf Hall of Fame, giving me advice. There's Clemmy Perry, who she's founder of the Women of Color Golf. She's been around for a long time with her organization. So I was getting, pieces from different people that helped me navigate this space, and so we're still growing. But then last year I said, okay, well, let me try to do this first charity event. I said, so I'm going to do a golf tournament. I said, man, now my wife actually has worked the Masters before. So she's worked Masters and worked at Medina. She's done events, stuff like that. She knows how to do that kind of stuff. I said, well, yeah, let me leverage that. And then let's just try to put on this tournament and see what happens, see what we can do. And so the first tournament, as I was going around, I was putting this up, I was kind of like, man, this is going to be hard because I got to get these golfers in and blah, 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 blah. And so people were saying, man, Ernest, if you're able to get 25, 30 golfers for your first event, because nobody knows who Swing Forward is, the sponsors, nobody, who's going to give us money to do this and who's the sponsors, they don't even know who we are, brand new. And as it turns out, the grace of God, we had first event, I had almost 68 golfers, and we had sponsors from like Cadillac, Audi, and different that really came forward, and Ed Morris Cadillac really stepped forward and really helped us, bring this to fruition. And so it was a great event. I mean, we had it at Hunter's Green, and it was a great event. It turned out to really, really nice for our very first event.
Yeah.
And so we just recently had the second annual event, and it turned out really nice as well. But to be quite honest with you, Mike, it's, we're living in some different times now.
Yes.
Because, last year it was a little bit easier. It wasn't as much of a challenge last year even though I was brand new and so on and so forth, it wasn't, we were getting some sponsors and stuff, but this year, with, administration changes and whatever, and all that, I'm not going to make this a political conversation, but, the administration changing, and then they're going after DEI, and they kind of they would look at our site and then look at, oh, we must be DEI. So people weren't as easy to, loosen up those purse strings. And, because they're killing all these programs for DEI, or what they even deem as DEI. So, so at the end of the day, it was rough, but we got through it. We got through it. And so what we're just trying to do is just trying to grow this thing. We were able to, last year, we put on a clinic for 120 kids from the Boys and Girls Club. And it was a free clinic. We did it free, because this is what we want to do. We want to, we could raise the funds. We want to be able to, again, remove these financial barriers. So we did this, and we didn't have any sponsors or anything. We just went out and we just did it. And we were able to do this for 120 golfers from the Boys and Girls Club. These are kids who've never been exposed to golf. They've never been on the golf course and this, that, and the other. Man, doing that, man, it was phenomenal. We did 60 kids on one day, then we did 60 kids the following week. So we didn't do them all at the same time. We did them over the course of 2 weeks. But man, it was like a 4-hour clinic, man. I had my pros out there and the juniors out there helping out. We just send them through different stations, and man, they enjoyed it, man. We prepared them with goodie bags and these little drawstring bags and stuff, with our logo and everything on it, and it's golf camp thing that we did for them, and gave them, the stuff to take with them, and we provided breakfast and lunch for them. And man, I tell you what, sometimes we take a lot of things for granted, and when you're listening to stories from these kids or the Boys and Girls Club and some of the things that they go through, man, it just brings you back to reality. And there was one story in which we was doing this, and one of the workers from the Boys and Girls Club, he came to me and said, Ernest, hey man, appreciate what you're doing. This is great, man, and blah 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 blah. What you're doing is really cool. These kids really enjoying themselves, and for me that's what it's all about. But then he said, hey, I want to tell you a quick story. And I said, yeah, sure. What's up? He said, you see that little girl over there? I said, yeah. He said, this little girl she walked up to me this morning right after breakfast. She said, "Could you hold this juice for me?" And he said, "Yeah, you want me to save it for you for later?" And she said, "No, I want to share this with my family." And I said, "What?"
Oh, man.
And so he said her family was living in a homeless shelter. And so I said, "What?" So I looked back at my wife and I went to her. I told him, I said, "I'll be right back." I went to my wife and told her, I said, "Get that bag. And as much stuff that we have left that you could put in that bag, put it in that bag and bring it to me." And she did. And so I gave it to him and I said, because they busted the Boys and Girls Club, they busted the kids into the thing. I said, "Listen, when they get back to the facility and all the kids get off the bus," I said, "You pull that little girl to the side and you give her this bag and tell her to take this to her family." And then, I'm trying to figure out what the legalities was saying, "Hey, if you could, because it's in the summer, so kids are about to go back to school."
Yeah.
I said, "You can if you can give us the contact information for that family, we'll see what we can do for them. Maybe get clothes, school supplies, or whatever for them to, help out to go with that." So just having that, being able to do that, this is what my vision is, what my dream is. I don't take a dime from Swing For It. Every dime that goes in Swing For It, I don't pay myself salary or anything like that, because this is all about raising kids, raising money for these
to
kids,
help the people out,
to help these people and help our community. And when I say help our community, I mean community at large. So this is what it's all about for me. This is what my vision is for this whole thing. And I'm growing it slowly but surely, but I'm going to grow it the right way. I'm not going to do anything that's going to anything that's nefarious or underhand or anything like this. When you have a 501c3, they're very, very strict about certain things and blah 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 blah, and we're going to follow all the guidelines we can. So I'm not in it to try to do anything that's going to be below board. Everything that we do, Swing For It, is going to be above board. And that means I got to slow, move that. As you see, there's Trisha Clark. Yeah. So what we want to do is that if I have to grow it slow and just right now I'm supporting 2 juniors and a couple of pros. But our big push that we're doing right now is I started this new initiative called the AIM initiative. So the AIM stands for Access, Interaction, and Mentorship. And it's kind of like this 3-pillar ecosystem that I'm putting together. And the AIM is for access, like say A is for access. And, the goal there is to remove every barrier that says that golf isn't for me. Because, a lot of times people going, "Hey, it's not for me because it's too expensive," whatever. Well, we're going to remove all those barriers to say that. That's what the whole access part of it is. And that's through the free youth camps that we do. Equipment, we hope to have an equipment locker in which we're able to provide clubs, shoes, gloves, bags, stuff like that through the graciousness of donations or whatever. And then, help with tournament fees and blah, 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 blah. Ultimately, provide memberships. Scholarships.
Okay.
For kids or programs, kids that would come into our youth, into our program. And then the other part of it is interaction. So once we get them into golf, the goal here is to create this exposure to it and fun and belonging. So we want these people to feel like they belong. You belong in this space. If you want to be in it, you belong in this space. Wherever you go, you should feel like you belong there. So that means that and we want the kids to fall in love with it and have an interaction with people that are like-minded or whatever. That provides them, more of a way of going forward with this and really with the exposure, having fun and feeling like they are, enjoying it.
To motivate them to move forward and progress in the foundation. So I have a question on that. If somebody gave you a check right now, boom, couple of mil, what would be the first main thing you would do with the foundation? Like here you go. Would you expand it? Would you grow it more in Florida? Would you go to Cali? Would you get other organizations? Because this is a great organization you're doing. This is amazing. I mean, I read about it, but now you've broken down into more depth.
Man, if I, first of all, I think thank God. But I would would push forward for a lot of these exposure, getting people exposed to it, young people, underexposed, under-resourced people involved in it, and then I would grow the base of the junior program, but also want to make money available for scholarships, and then not only just scholarships, but the other part of this too, because this is more than golf. Swing Forward is more than golf. It's we're trying to look at things of, because golf is transformational. It is. It's been transformational for me. I've met so many people through golf, and I've built connections and networks through golf. So it's been transformational. And so with our mentorship program, the end part of the aim is the mentorship is to transform golf access into life outcomes. Because, when you think about golf, this is where Swing Forward comes in and begins the life-changing part of this, because it's just not about just the sports-based part of it. We want to teach them about integrity and blah, 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 one-on-one mentorships. And even like some of the juniors, these are elite juniors, so they're under a lot of pressure. We want to be able to, provide them a kind of a release. In other words, sometimes their parents can be really hard on them. But golf has enough pressure. They don't need the pressure of their parents and and being mad at them, whatever. So I, want to be able to help them, from that mental standpoint, mental stability. So we want to, do stuff like have mentorships, have them connect with a mentor to just kind of lead them, one-on-one through whatever challenges they may have, because it's not just challenges of golf, but it's challenges just of life. They may be struggling in school or whatever. What can we do to help them do that? So we're not doing just golf. We want to be bigger than that. Golf is just the catalyst. Golf is the vehicle that lead them to, again, these life-changing events for them. We want to make sure that we raise or we increase awareness of them for life, and teach them life skills and so on and so forth. That's what put it towards growing this, and growing it nationally. And right now we're on we're grassroots in Florida, but we do want to expand, expand this reach, because it's needed all over the place. And one of the things that I talk about too is, there's other organizations that do what I do. And so people say, well, that's, what about your competitors? I don't have competitors. I don't compete. I compete, meaning that I compete because it's not a competition, because I can't service everybody, but we need people to be services. So I support all other organizations that are doing the same thing I do. I'm in it. Hey, I want to see them. I want to see them grow. I want to see them expand and do some of the things that we're doing, because I can't service everybody. So it's not a matter of competing. We compete with other organizations. So whenever we can bring a shine or a light to what these other organizations are doing, I also want to do that too. It's not just about Swing Forward. Swing Forward is just one of many. So we're going to do what we can do. We're going to do our part, and if everybody else out there doing their part, if we can be supportive of that, we're going to do that too.
And move forward. That's right. Guys, you can see the QR code right there. You saw the website. This is amazing information. Check us out. Well, check him out, Earnest Mack, and the founder of Swing Forward. But we also have a sideline thing. He does music. What's going on with that? I had to talk about that real quick. You have a single out. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, actually, he just released a single. I produce music as well. I have my production company is called Music, MUZIQ. Productions. It's it's just my own little label and music. So I produce music. I do all types of music, but I guess when people listen to what I have out now, they will probably say I'm more on the jazz side. But this latest release is more of a inspirational song, and it's called I See You, and it's basically recognizing, like me saying what you're doing, Mike G, for what you're doing in the community with your podcast and bringing that information to people. You know, hey, you're an unsung hero. You don't do it for, you know, for all the accolades. You know, you're doing it because you're trying to get a message across. And so that's an unsung hero, and that's what the song is geared towards. So yeah, check it out. It's on all the streaming platforms, and I go by the name because I couldn't think of it, because I don't consider myself an artist. I like doing stuff in the background. Yeah. But I had to release this song. You know, I'm doing all the vocals. I'm doing. I normally do all the music. I'm not a vocalist. I don't like to sing, but on this one, I actually did the singing, the lead singing on it. And,
okay.
And which is a big stretch for me because I don't want to be. That's not what I do. But so I had to come up with a name. So it's Ernie G. Is my name is Ernie G. EARNIE, and the initial G, because my middle name is Gene. So that's where Ernie G comes from. And so it's out there on the name of Ernie G, and the name of the song is called I See You. ICEU. You know, so check it out.
Check it out, guys.
And I hope you guys enjoy it. Whoever goes.
That's great, man. That's I like that. I like that. Well,
I've been doing this for a little while. Production thing. I was in the music business many years ago. I actually was in the music business, and that was a long time ago. And then I decided to come back into it. But like I said, I also record audiobooks. I just recorded a book for Gerald McCants, who is a wood architect here in Tampa. He just finished. You know, he wrote a really fabulous book called The Architecture of Segregation. And then there's also Gary Hartfield. Gary Hartfield, he wrote a fantastic book on, you know, finances and business and everything. And it's a really, really good book.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been very informative, man. And I really wish you luck in the swing forward. Any help, you know, he's always here. I tell everybody, I love the community. I love Tampa. I love Florida. I'm from New York. I'm Trinity, but I've been here so many years. I'm a Floridian now. And stuff like that. So, man, check out the single. Check out Swing Forward, guys. And check out, you know, Earnest Mack, you know. And also check out Vince's new book, Keep It Rolling. And this is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining in. Mike G.